Good afternoon, my YouTube followers. Took a while to get to this thing. I picked this amp up at the weekend. It's the JTM60 Marshall 2x12, 60 watts of full tube power. Does work. I've tested it. It sounds absolutely lovely, but it does have its issues, its little quirks that I need to address. So one of them is it's got a loose input, so I'm getting intermittent when it's plugged in there. I think overall the entire amp needs a good clean. Nothing else apart from the, I think, random. If I twist it back, if I turn it around, in the back here, just a bit of a clean up. Now, these amps are notorious for overheating. I don't know why Marshall decided to mount the power tubes like that. Now, when the amp's working, these, as you probably know, glow up, get very, very hot. And so hot, in fact, that you can feel it where it goes through the metal, through the chassis, through the wood, and it's actually hot to touch here. You couldn't sit on it after this has been running for a few hours. So I need to make some sort of heat sink or some sort of insulation to protect anything that lives inside here from the heat coming through the tubes. And also, if you look what we've got here, we've got like the main fuse for the amp, we've got the mains power supply going in, so we've got a lot of voltage going in there and a lot of heat. It's ultimately a recipe for disaster. Now I'm going to take it apart because I'm keen to have a look inside, see if I can, you know, identify anything that just might need a little you know, a little tinker with, but I suspect there's not that much. We've got the wobbly input, the heat sink here, and I just want to take a look and make sure, you know, everything's tickety-boo. I'll be back in a bit once I've taken it apart. It's got some really nice Marshall Celestians, heritage ones these are. Yeah, these speakers, well, anyone that knows, they do actually sound, you know, really, really good. I don't know if I mentioned it already, so this amp's from around about 1995, so it's nearly 30 years old, and it's fully working. So we know we're getting, you know, some really good build quality from Marshall there back in 1995, because this thing's still making a lot of noise. Definitely needs a clean though. I mean, that thing in there's just thick with dust. There's bits of paper and stuff. I want to be getting rid of all this dust because, like I mentioned, these get really, really hot. I don't want that smell of burning dust and, you know, all that nastiness. So I need to get all the dust out and I'm gonna lift the chassis and see what's going on in there as well. Right, so I've lifted the chassis at the top of the you know, out of the cab. Not going to do much messing about with this tonight. Going to concentrate more on giving that a good clean, because I don't want to be rushing this. Well, I'm just going to point out a few little bits. So purely, by no means I'm not a professional. This is just what I've sort of picked up over the years. So we've got these two big things here, our tubes, power tubes. The little ones next to them are our valves. So our valves are doing the preamp, our tubes are doing the power amp. We've got two transformers, one on this side and one on this side. We've got an input transformer and an output transformer, or it might be the other way around, I'm not quite sure, but one's input, one's output. Moving, you know, slightly back again now. These big blue things you can see, and these as well, these these big sort of like tubey looking things, they're capacitors. They actually hold a lot of charge, so don't really want to be poking around inside an amp with a screwdriver. I'm making sure I'm not touching anything, you know, anyway. Then we've got these sort of like ceramic, I think they're resistors. There's some sort of ceramic resistors. Now, a good thing to see on this amp is if you look, so they've actually mounted away from the board. The reason for this is they get very, very hot. These are very, very hot components when they're running. And look, we see there. We shouldn't really be seeing any sort of charring on the board. If they were any closer or mounted to the board, then we would see it would be burning, and you know, the amp just won't work right. Want to be inspecting these capacitors, these caps, for nothing. They don't look like they're bulging, and it doesn't look like there's anything leaking out of them. And same again as we're coming through on these ones as well. We want to just checking, nothing leaking out of them. And they're securely fitted. There's one more. So we're talking about the heat issue then. So if you look through the grate, we can see the two tubes. Now it's these two get really, really hot. Now living above them that are getting red hot are also our 3 ceramic resistors. These are getting absolutely mad hot. I don't know if you can see just behind this ceramic resistor there, we've got a quick, it's what we've called it's a quick blow fuse that protects the whole amp for power surge. Now, you don't really want to mix in high temperature with that, because it's just going to keep blowing. So we've got tubes that are getting red hot. These are hot anyway. We've also got our capacitors that we want to try and take as much care of as possible, because we don't want them bulging, leaking. And yeah, and we've also got our fuse at the back right there. We've also got this is where our main power comes in. So again, literally the hottest part of that amp is where, you know, all the hot components are all concentrated in one space. Now, forget the tubes, the rest of it, the amp just running, if it was solid state, would be fine. It wouldn't get that hot, it'd be a problem. But because it's not solid state and it's a tube amp, we've now got the added heat of these tubes. It's like, you can imagine this top rack now just becomes an oven. Everything starts getting very, very hot. We've got these wires that are running along the top of these ceramic resistors here. I want to be checking them that they're not actually getting that hot that it's burning the wire. Well, which is not, which is fine. But if we look at that, what we can see there, it's black and red. That's telling us that's some sort of like mains power supply that, you know, runs along the top of this mega hot bit and comes this way into that transformer. You can see now we start running a risk of any of these wires getting too hot, where the shielding starts to bubble and we've got bare metal. It just needs to touch somewhere, it's literally going to set on fire. So need to take care of the heating issue. And to do it, now you can actually buy these purpose-made heat sinks on eBay, but I don't want one of them. I'm just going to fit a heat shield all above the top there, is what I'm going to do, to try and keep the internals, because a common misconception is I'm not trying to cool down the tubes. I'm not trying to cool these down. The hotter these run, the better the sound of the amp. It's everything else I want to be keeping cool. Right, I fully stripped it down, and it's, to be honest, it's turning into a little bit of a restoration. So I've used the good old boot polish trick on the wood. Obviously hoovered it out first, polished the reverb tank. If you're interested, that's what reverb looks like, just in there. Yeah, because that was all a little bit rusty and whatnot. What else we've got? Speakers, I've hoovered them, got all the crumbs out, the dust. We've got the front grille, still need to wash this. Again, done the old boot polish trick on the back of that. it was this piece that I tested it on first, because I don't know if you can tell, but the Tolex on this amp's it's not black, it's like a grey colour, so that's like Marshall black, if you like. This one, it's more of a grey. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there for tonight because I'm getting pretty tired. Yeah, next video I guess it'll be all nice and clean, back together, heat sink sorted, and it'll be an actual, you know, review rather than a restoration cleany uppy thing. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.